Well, thank you for joining me again as we wend our way through Hebrews chapter 11. And let me read the verse that I want us to think about. It's Hebrews 11, verse 13. It says, "All these people were still living by faith when they died. They did not receive the things promised. They only saw them and welcomed them from a distance." Now, the NIV translates that opening phrase, they were living by faith when they died. But that's an extended translation, I think, of what is in fact a much simpler phrase. Throughout the chapter, we have the phrase by faith, which in the Greek is one word, and it's at the beginning of every sentence that it starts. And this one is slightly different. It's according to faith. And I think that means that the older translation of what this says is better. They died in faith. Now, the reason the NIV translates it the way it does is because of the verses that follow. You know, they were living by faith when they died because they hadn't received the things promised, or not everything anyway. And because they were looking ahead to these things and they welcomed them from a distance. So they were living by faith. Yeah, I understand that. But in fact, if you say they died in faith, that's actually a little different. One of the dangers of translating it as living by faith when they died it might suggest that everything came to an end when they died. They were living by faith and, well, that was it when they died. But no, this says they died in faith. The moment of death for them was an occasion of faith itself. Death didn't end their faith or the hopes that they talked about and believed in, because their hopes were for heavenly things, eternal things, for God himself and his reward. Now, this is the Christian concept of death for the believer, and this is what makes Christian funerals the occasions that they are. We live for God during our lives, to serve him, to love him, to know him, to be loved by him. And when it comes to death, we believe that it ushers us into his presence forever. And so we face it in faith, trusting that he's with us, trusting that he is going to welcome us, and therefore we face it with hope and peace. And we do so not because of ourselves, not because we've managed to persuade ourselves that this is the case, but because of Jesus. Jesus himself died for our sins, and so we are reconciled to God and at peace with him, and we know that he will welcome us as his own children. And Jesus also defeated death. He rose from the dead, showing that he's conquered and that we will live forever with him. So it's because of him that we do this. It's not because we've managed to think these things up ourselves. And so we die in faith, or according to faith, the faith that we have. Because Jesus has done these things for us. We die in line with the things that we've held onto. It was the founder of the Methodist movement, John Wesley, in the 17th century, who said, "Our people die well." And of course, that was really meaningful in an age when there was very little in the way of good treatment for illnesses, little in the way of pain relief, and a time in which death was a very common reality. They faced it with hope and peace, even joy, standing out as examples of peace in the face of death in difficult times. So this hope only comes through Jesus. You can't cook it up yourself, because he's done this for us. You can only face it with him. So do you know him for yourself? Are you growing to know him further? Because it's his sacrifice, his love, his death and resurrection that give us hope in the face of what is inevitable for all of us. But there's something else that the passage talks about that I don't think we should miss out on this occasion. When it talks about them dying in faith, it's because they didn't receive everything that was promised. There were further things still coming the other side of death itself. And in the writer's mind, it's as if he's talking about things we receive now and things we don't receive now. They're not yet. And this is important for us because there's a line of thinking that you will almost certainly encounter if you move around in church circles for any length of time, that promises God's healing for all your illnesses now, simply because God is able to do it, and because heaven itself is a place of ultimate healing. They try to bring that down now. Years ago, I went to a big healing crusade in London just to see what it was all about. And in fact, the evangelist in question passed away only quite recently. Now, there were huge claims made, all sorts of really quite outrageous stuff. And there was a huge crowd there. It was at Earl's Court, 10,000 people, perhaps, I suppose. And they had wheelchairs. They had all sorts of people suffering with all sorts of illnesses. In the end, as far as I could say, nothing happened. Nothing happened at all. I do understand there was a program afterwards that showed that all the bad cases, really tough ones, had been kept out. But in my experience, what happens is that when people claim that God is going to heal all your illnesses now because that's what God does, then when people are not healed, they tend to blame the sufferers. Oh, it's your lack of faith. You don't believe enough. Well, that's just criminally cruel. Well, actually, shortly afterwards, I went to another meeting, which Dick Lucas, who was current rector at St Helens Bishopsgate, he was speaking, and he was talking about these meetings. He said, well, that sounds like a bad case of over-realized eschatology. That's not another disease you need to be healed from. It's a technical term for trying to bring the promises and the blessings of heaven down to us now too soon. That's what people are doing, expecting and wanting to experience what is promised in heaven now, the heavenly healing for my earthly body now. Well, I could go on a lot longer about that, but that sort of promise is not given. So we live by faith. We don't get everything. Everything isn't just given to us. We have Jesus, and that's everything in a way. That's all that we need. And so we're able to live by faith and die in faith as well. Well, may you know that and the strength and peace that comes from knowing the Lord Jesus. Know his blessing over yourself and your life today. And I'll see you tomorrow with one more thought from this part of Hebrews 11.